Go kill yourself. Why are you still alive? You are so ugly. Rebecca Sedgwick, a girl from Florida who was only 11 years old, received those mean, hurtful, tormenting, and embarrassing messages on her social media. They would ultimately lead her to jump off of her town's water tower to her death. In the fall of 2013, I came home from school to read that story. I was stunned, shocked, and I was heartbroken. How could a girl younger than myself be pushed to take her own life? It was unacceptable. And more importantly, why weren't there any effective methods to stop cyberbullying? My name is Trisha Prabhu. I'm 14 years old, and I'm determined to stop cyberbullying at the source before the damage is done. From a young age, I've been interested in the inner workings of the brain and fascinated with the cognitive sciences, and it's led me to pursue some extraordinary work. Through my experiences, I've learned that science is so much less about mixing hard-to-name chemicals or wearing a lab coat, but more about how you can make an impact in society. So when I read about Rebecca's story, I immediately wondered, could there be any others like her out there that were suffering? I started to do some research, and I'd soon find that she was one of a countless many that had endured pain and misery beyond what I could ever imagine. Megan Muir died 3 weeks before her 14th birthday. Her mother found her in her bedroom closet where she'd hung herself when coming upstairs to get her for dinner. Megan had received messages like, "The world would be a better place without you," on her MySpace account. The damage was done, and Megan suffered the consequences. Tyler Clementi, an 18-year-old student at Rutgers University, just getting used to college life and his new gay identity. One day, his roommate and a friend decided to use a laptop and a webcam to stream some of Tyler's most intimate moments with his boyfriend to their social media world. They thought it was funny. The damage was done. Humiliated, Tyler jumped off of the George Washington Bridge to his death. I wish, more than anything, that I could rewrite those stories. I wish I could make every perpetrator rethink what they did to those victims. I wish I could stop them from posting those offensive messages. But what if I could? What if I could redesign the way kids were thinking on social media? Would Rebecca, Megan, and Tyler still be alive today? Cyberbullying is a huge problem. 52% of adolescents in the United States alone have been cyberbullied. That's 12.5 million teens. Let's look at it from a global perspective. 1/4 of the world's population are adolescents. We're talking 1.8 billion teens. Imagine then, in this social media revolution, how more and more of them are getting on social media and more of them are being cyberbullied. In fact, a recent study from the UK showed that 50 and 60-year-old people who had been cyberbullied as adolescents and teenagers, even bullied, they still held the scars of what had happened to them well into their 50s and 60s. Depression, low self-esteem, suicidal tendencies. It was a scar and it never went away. Why was it then that kids were cyberbullying? I mean, this is a huge problem. So why are we so much more willing to post offensive messages on social media sites? I mean, I might be biased, but I'm pretty sure that kids aren't evil demons out there to get people. What about adults? Are they nice on social media? I mean, with adults, you're never sure. So that's when I decided that I was going to check it out. I was going to look at which age group was more willing to post an offensive message on social media. A younger age group, an adolescent age group, ages 12 to 18, or an older age group, mostly like yourself. I conducted my experimentation. What did I find? This younger age group. They were 40% more willing to post an offensive message on social media. Okay, fine. The number doesn't surprise me. The real thing was why? Were we just born mean and then suddenly we got nicer as time passed? I had absolutely no idea. I started to do some really extensive research. And one day, I came across this one line in my research, in this one article, and it absolutely changed the course and direction of how I was looking at this issue. It said, "The adolescent brain is likened to a car with no brakes." Think about that for a sec. High speed, no brakes, no stopping, no thinking. So, really, our brains have a very unique design. When an infant is born, the brain is obviously not fully developed. Over the next 25 years, our entire brain fully develops, and it is not classified as fully developed until around age 25. It also develops unevenly from the back of our head to the front. That means that skills like visual skills, which are located in the back, are developed first. And here's the really, really interesting part. 90% of our brains are developed in the first 13 years of our lives. So everything except for this part right up here. And yet this 10% that's less to develop, it takes 13 years to develop all by itself, which I'm guessing means that it's pretty important. And what is it that this part of the brain controls? Decision-making, impulses, rash, spur-of-the-moment decisions. So, have you ever heard the phrase, think before you act? Adolescents? We don't. Whether it's skipping an English final, downing 15 Red Bulls on a dare, or posting an offensive message on social media, we're not really thinking about what we're doing. It's not because we're crazy, but our brains aren't designed to fully understand the significance of the decisions that we're making and the consequences of what that decision can mean in the future. We don't realize, man, we're hitting post. What does that actually mean? Our brains aren't designed to understand that. If anything, they're a faulty design. Social media has changed our idea of connection. Today, you can become friends with someone without even looking at them. Yet, that is an amazing amount of power that has been placed into our hands. It is so easy to abuse that power. And because adolescents do not have the capacity, their brains aren't designed to think about what they're doing, they end up abusing it. And we end up with a problem called cyberbullying. Okay, so this was a huge problem. I'd figured out why. Now I was like, social media sites had to be doing something about this. And yeah, I'd soon find they were doing something. But what they were doing was really nothing, so to speak. Social media sites like to follow a mechanism to stop cyberbullying that I like to call stop, block, and tell. They ask the victim of the cyberbullying to stop, block the cyberbully, and then tell an adult or guardian immediately. Sounds pretty reasonable. That is, until you actually apply it to the real world. Unfortunately, that's not really how it works. Research shows that 9 out of 10 cyberbullying victims don't tell anyone that they're being cyberbullied. They suffer in silence until they reach a breaking point, and they're just alone, depressed. So telling a parent or guardian didn't work. What about blocking the cyberbully? Why were we blocking the cyberbully? Why were we placing that burden on the victim instead of actually changing the behavior in the cyberbully? It seemed like a short-term method to stop cyberbullying, a quick fix. It wasn't actually affecting or attacking the problem. This was ridiculous. There seriously wasn't a long-term effective method to stop cyberbullying? Okay, what if I could change that? What if I could redesign the way kids made decisions on social media? What if someone tried to go on social media and post an offensive message, and I went, whoa, hold on, slow down, you're about to make a really important decision. This message could be offensive to someone. Are you really sure you want to post that offensive message on social media? It was a really simple design, and yet, if it worked, it had the potential to impact our society and make a difference in the world. The only problem was I had no idea if it was going to work. So that's when I decided I was going to figure it out. I had an amazing idea. I was going to come up with my own social media site. It was going to go viral in a few days, obviously. All my friends were going to get on it. I was going to monitor their behavior for 4 weeks. It was going to be awesome. I would see how this RETHINK alert made a difference. That was until I rethought my action plan. How was I going to be able to control who was posting an offensive message, when they were posting an offensive message? How did I even know if people were going to be posting offensive messages? I mean, I like to think that my friends are pretty nice, so I had no control over this. Okay, back to the drawing board. I've been coding since age 10. So at a very young age, I've learned how science and technology is playing a huge role in our future. So what if I could create 2 software systems, one called Baseline and one called RETHINK? It would display offensive messages to a test subject and ask them, would you post this on social media? Then collect their responses, yes or no. But on the RETHINK software system, if an adolescent said, sure, I'll post that on social media, go, whoa, hold on. You're about to post an offensive message. Are you really sure you want to do that? And so the experimentation began. For the next 4 to 6 weeks, I basically camped out at my local library. I was always trying to get kids to participate in my experiment. I was always getting weird looks. I never knew whether it was because they were like, do you live here? Or because they were like, gosh, she doesn't smell so good. Either way, it was totally worth it. Because by the end of this, I had 1,500 valid trials of data. The results were stunning. 93% of the time, when an adolescent received a RETHINK alert that went, whoa, hold on, you're about to post an offensive message, they actually changed their mind and said, you know what, I'm not going to post this offensive message on social media. 93% of the time. I was able to drop the overall willingness to post an offensive message from about 71% to 4%. That to me seemed like a lot more of an effective method to stop cyberbullying than blocking a cyberbully. My research had proven rethink before you type, rethink before you post, rethink before the damage is done is the most effective long-term method to stop cyberbullying. I'm so excited to say that recently I had the amazing opportunity to present my work at 1871, which is an entrepreneurial and technology hub right here in Chicago. I got a ringing endorsement, and I won first place in the competition. And since then, RETHINK has really taken off. Every year, Google conducts an international science fair where people from all around the world, ages 4 to 18, submit projects about things that they're passionate about. I'm so excited to say that I was selected as one of the top 15 global finalists for the science fair. It not only validated my project and what I was doing, but the idea that redesigning the way kids were thinking could make such a huge impact in the lives of millions of adolescents around the world. So now, I'm getting tons of encouragement, tons of people reaching out to me, people from all walks of life, young and old, telling me, Trisha, I feel safer going on social media now. Thank you for what you're doing. Continue with your work. You're really making a difference. And it brings joy to your heart to know that you're able to do that. I actually received a handwritten letter from a 65-year-old lady. She had no idea where I lived. She just read about me in a newspaper article. So she found the name of my high school, and she mailed off this handwritten letter to me. I'd open it up like 2 weeks later. And she'd written to me telling me to continue my work because she thought that this would not only just help adolescents, but adults too. She had been cyberbullied by her daughter, who is now an adult, on social media. And she felt that my idea could perhaps make a difference and stop the pain and the suffering that she went through every day reading those messages. So with all the support and encouragement, I've now been working towards creating a RETHINK product. Now with this RETHINK product comes a lot of design challenges. One being context-sensitive filtering. For those of you that are from Chicago, I'm sure you can relate to the havoc that the polar vortex caused last winter. FYI, if you're not from Chicago, it was cold. It was very cold. There was a lot of snow and it was not fun. So let's just say I went on social media and I posted something like, I hate Chicago weather. It has the word hate in there. But it's not really an offensive message, is it? So RETHINK has to be designed in order to detect what is truly an offensive message and make a decision. If I try to post something like, you are so ugly on social media, it should pick up on that. But if I post, I hate the Chicago weather, it shouldn't. Those are some design challenges that I'm gonna have to tackle. And it's gonna be a long journey, but it's also gonna be a lot of fun. Because when you're doing something you're passionate about, it's not work. What about rolling it out? That's always the first question I get. How are you gonna get it on social media sites? How are you gonna fit it to all the little schmancy details that every social media site has? That too, we're in a social media revolution. It seems like every day I go to school and someone's like, do you hear about this new social media site? It's so cool. I'm like, oh. But it's expanding so quickly. So how was I gonna be able to adapt to that growing environment? That's when I had an idea. What if I created RETHINK so that it worked at the source with a browser or with a mobile platform? That way, no matter what social media site you're on, the ones that are popular today or the ones that might be popular tomorrow, RETHINK will work on the most popular browsers and mobile platforms. My real hope for RETHINK and the RETHINK design is that it's going to be simple and easy to use. What does simple mean? Simple can be harder than complex. Original, much harder than derived. But in the end, it's worth it because when you get there, you can move mountains. Steve Jobs said that, and he is so correct. It is amazing how this simple design, this idea of RETHINK, just having kids pause for a second, can literally have a huge impact on what they decide to post on social media. Just those few seconds before they hit post can mean all the difference in the world. So no matter who you are, where you're from, or what you're doing, rethink before you type, before the damage is done. Spread the word. It's amazing. Those few seconds, they have so much significance. And as social media is making a greater and greater stand in our world, what we're posting is having more and more significance. So it's important that with this immense power, we're not abusing it. So whether you're about to post an offensive message about the fat girl that sits ahead of you in class, or your annoying boss, think about it. Those decisions could have huge implications in the future. Very rarely in this integrated society do we remember, pause, stop, rethink, be in the moment. You're about to post something that reflects who you are. Make it something that's worthy of you. It'll mean justice for Amanda, Rebecca, Tyler, Megan, Jody, and so many others that have suffered. It'll also mean that we'll be taking one step forward to a new beginning on social media. Thank you.